IPMNation.com.
All Natural Being. Warning, All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy is designed to shake your sense of self to the core.
It's full contact psychology with an empowering twist, a philosophical loofah for your soul.
For those of you not ready or comfortable releasing your inner superhuman, listener discretion is advised.
Here's your host,
Brian Brawdy.
Thank you very much and welcome to All Natural Being. Okay, before we get into it, I just want to thank everyone on Facebook, on Twitter, and the emails just now and the calls. Thank you very much. I'm excited about reliving my 49th birthday for yet another year. Good golly, I'm getting old. You'd think I'd act a little more mature at this stage of the game, wouldn't you? But hey, thank you for stopping by and hanging out. The number one rated show here at IPMNation.com. Oh, we're on iTunes now, soon to be on iHeartRadio, we're thinking. And I want to thank you, truly, for hanging out with us each day, Monday through Friday, 7 to 8 a.m. Eastern, replay at 11 a.m. Eastern, and now at 8 p.m. Eastern as well. And, of course, on the On-Demand Library and iTunes. Thank you. The reason, I think, we've held this spot since our debut, and today is day 49, the 49th weekday that I've done this show. 2 months and a day, I guess. The reason I think we're doing so well is this is a show about you. I love this philosophical loofah in the open, or like a philosophical jackhammer. Get in there, mix it up a little bit. The sole goal of reminding you who you truly are. I'm fired up about it too. I'm thrilled to be spending an hour with you, however we connect, to do simply that, to remind you that you're not built to pack it in before you're called home, right? We talked yesterday about so many of us that philosophically choose to die years before the caretakers dig our hole in the ground. You're not built for retreat. You're not built for splitting the difference. I say this, let's split the difference. You're not built for that. You're not built for calling it a draw. And you're most certainly not built to take a back seat to anybody. Now, here's the disclaimer portion of a show. I'm not a doctor, a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a therapist, a social worker, a licensed clinical anything. Certainly not a life coach. Let me tell you what I am. Now, we have the whole laundry list of things that I am not. Let me tell you what I am. I'm a huge fan of yours. I'm on your side, even in those times, say, of absent-mindedness or melancholy. I'm on your side even in those times when you, not so much so. Especially in those moments when you doubt who you truly are, I'm in your corner. Because I know who you truly are. Beneath the amnesia, beneath the blind spots, I know who the real you is. So I'm always interested in one thing. If you ever head over to allnaturalbeing.com, give me your email. I'll give you my email. And every day in the email, when I send out kind of like the recap of the show and so all natural thinking question of the day for you and the like, I'm really interested in one thing. I'm interested every single day in the answer you offer to one simple, tiny, very short sentence. But yet it's staggeringly profound, not just in your life, but in my life, our community's life. Staggeringly profound question. Who are you? Who are you? And All Natural Being is my opportunity to remind you of that power, to break your normal boundaries, to explore the exotic within you. Because if you can't find the exotic within you, if you can't find happiness within you, if you can't find love within you, what the hell are you doing looking for it anywhere else? You wouldn't recognize it. If I'm speaking to you in Russian, let's say, would you understand Russian? I don't understand Russian, so I don't know I'd speak to you in Russian. But if you don't understand the language, how will you know? And if you're constantly putting off all these other things, searching outside of ourselves for happiness, fulfillment, and success, if we don't know what it is, how would we know if we found it? So it's my job to remind you, whenever you can, to forego the commonplace, let's call it spiritual sabotage, that is holding you down and back. To remind you that every chance is the perfect second chance. To remind you that any moment you have the ability to demand the very best by deciding to be the very best version of yourself. So that's why I'm here. That's why I'm doing it. I like to suggest that you take an evolutionary leap, quantum leap, back, not forward, but take that quantum leap back to your original depths, to the authentic, to the native, the innate within you. Now, if you're currently estranged from your inner superhuman, if it's been a while since you've tapped into your all-natural being, if it seems normal to second-guess yourself, well, then I think we should take care of that. I think we should reset your mindset. I think we should resuscitate your all-natural resilience. I think we should revive your thick skin and your authentic girth of your backbone. It's time to get back to the marrow of your mind. It's time to get your grit back. We got a grind ahead of us. So I want to get you back in your groove. Because when you're in your groove, labyrinth, life, fate, whatever you want to call it, piece of cake. Now, we're not estranged from the moment. We don't sit here and go, oh, I hope we have a great future, or I hope we have a lousy future. It's not about removing yourself from life with either an optimistic or a pessimistic attitude. We're just cultivating an attitude that no matter what life throws at us, we're grateful to be here, right? The grease of the human mind. We're thankful for being here, and we're going to go at it full bore. And it's easy to do because you are a force of nature, and your higher power, your divine, however you define it, whatever you think about that divine energy, it's waiting for you to rally. It's waiting for you to remember who you are. It's popular to say today, it's to wake up. Great. It's waiting for you to shed the amnesia because you are, in fact, a rare breed. So why? Why would we settle for a farce of a life when you are, in fact, a force of nature? You're not built to surrender or settle. Oh, that's okay. I'll meet life halfway. I'll split the difference. A watered-down version is better than no version at all. Well, I don't know about that. I don't think you do either. No more watered-down version of who you are. So let me ask you, is today the day you stand up for yourself by reaching back to who you truly are? Ignore your critics, the chorus. I got a picture the other day from a friend of mine of cicadas. What a bunch of racket. Just like your critics. Ignore them. The chorus of all those people that want to hold you down and back because of their own agitation, their own apathy, their own refusal to get back to who they truly are before all the mashugana clouding their minds. They don't want to wallow around in the backwater of those very minds all alone. They want a swimming partner. They want a buddy. They want you to jump on the bandwagon and go, yeah, life's blah, so let me see what bling I can do, I can get, I can buy, I can pray for, hope for. Treat God like a giant ATM machine. Here's my puny little prayer. Punch it in the form of a PIN number, stand back, wait for it to spit out whatever we're looking for. Treat the universe like a short order cook. Yeah, I'd like a short stack, please. Couple pieces of bacon, some sausage, maybe some whole wheat dry toast. Really? Oh, yeah. Remember one time outside of Pittsburgh, I had a waitress named Flo. Honest to goodness, beautiful older woman named Flo. Like the universe is Flo standing there. Okay, what can I get you this morning? Really? That's how you're going to treat the universe. Constantly petitioning. constantly crafting some other carrot at the end of the stick so that one day you'll be, wait for it, happy. But you can't be happy now. You can't recognize it now in the moment, in your own head, in your own heart, in your own spine. But, Bride, don't worry. In the future, when happiness hits, I'll know how to recognize it then. Is today the day you stop carrying their baggage? All the people, all the attitudes that are looking to treat you like a pincushion. Little pointed metal Post-it note saying, hey, here's how I think you should do it. All the sarcasm directed at you because you want something different for your life. Because you're out in search of the flukes. And they're like, oh, no, got to have some of this foundation. They're such a huge fan of all the baggage. Let them keep it. Let them be like a baggage handler for the airlines. Keep it. Go through it. Take what you like. Let them lug it around. So today, let's agree. No more brainwashing. Either from an outside source, right? The walking, talking Venus flytraps in your life. Or even inner brainwashing. The things you and I do to talk ourselves out of who we are on the inside. So no more blind spots. No more. Is today the day you could be your mind's best friend? Is today the day you get off your own back? So here's my challenge. What do you say we use today to rally the rare breed that's within you? Because I think if we do, your confidence is on the verge of making a huge comeback. You got some packing peanuts, do you? Some inauthentic fruit? Spit them out. You know what it takes to be great. Stop acting like you don't. Oh, I need a sign. You are the sign. Oh, I need a signal. You are the signal. Stop looking around for someone to pin your sadness on. Maybe you and I are the co-conspirators. You ever think of that? Our moods, our beliefs, our attitudes, our ideas about who we are and where we are in life, we own them. So maybe today's the day we accept responsibility for all of our mental maneuvering. And if we don't like them, then it's on us to change. We've got to stop begging the people around us to make us A or B, happy or fulfilled. Today, let's just mark today as the day we go, nope, it's on me. If I'm not in a great mood, my fault. If I'm in a good mood, my fault. Whatever it is, I own it. No more masquerading. No more hiding. You know, I believe that you're here to wow the crowd, to steal the show, to manifest your destiny, to live up to your end of the bargain. 331-684-7685 or 331-684-SOUL. Reach out to me. Let me know what you're thinking. Thank you for all the emails. We get some really great questions. We'll be getting some of those this morning as well. Really great questions. Great questions in the emails each day. One of them really kind of hit me yesterday. We're going to talk about that here in just a little bit. Welcome to Metropolitan Co-working Space. Beautiful downtown Aurora, Illinois, where the sun, like 4:20 this morning, was coming up over the horizon. I dig that. Don't forget, you can reach me at allnaturalbeing.com. You can hook up with me on Facebook. You leave me your email. I'll leave you mine. We can connect, go over some of the things we talk about in the show. We've got big things coming up here in the next couple of weeks that I'm working on. And when I say working on, I'm really trying to just get better at this. I want to thank the good folks at IPM Nation for putting up with me. They always take my calls. I'm always like, how do I do this? How do I do that? How do I put these things together? They're always very gracious to me. Soon we're going to be doing a video version, right? So you can see the craziness that is Brian. For whoever wants to do that, you'll be able to see the craziness that is Brian. We're also going to have a webinar. We'll have information here pretty quickly on allnaturalbeing.com about a webinar. We're going to do a weekly thing where we're going to hang out, kind of like our own little revival. We're going to revive the rare breed once a week. good bit more detailed than what we're able to do here on the show, just because it's just a good bit more detailed. This is going to be a webinar for people that dig the concept, that are fired up to be hanging out. So we'll be announcing that pretty shortly as well. In the interim, 331-684-7685. Drop me a quick line, a quick text. I'll get back to you. Hey, sometimes here, even during the show. All right, a lot to talk about today. Let's go ahead and get the anaerobic aphorism queued up. Talk about it. Let's go. Oh. And again, let me just thank everyone. I'm trying to queue up on the Facebook page. Thank you to everyone for all of the birthday wishes. Super appreciate it. Super, super. And I'm going to try to respond back to everyone in person, personally, in Facebook and Twitter posts. So just give me a little bit of time. But I super appreciate it. I want you to know that taking a moment of your day to remind me of my day, I super appreciate it. All right, so here's the scoop. Anaerobic aphorism. Inner richness dictates your self-worth, not your riches or lack thereof. All the bling, right? All the things that we hope will draw people's attention to us so that we look special, so that we look gifted, so we look above the norm. You ever do that? Ever kind of like turn your back on your heart and say, oh, well, if I'm dressed this way, or if I drive this, or I own this, or I live in this place, or I do this, or I do that, then I'll really be something. So the anaerobic aphorism, don't want to dwell on it a lot today, but just to say, remember that your inner richness, your all-natural being, that's what dictates, literally and figuratively, dictates your self-worth. Right? It's your philosophical portfolio as to who you are, what you can cover, ups, downs, lefts, rights, pivots, swerves, shift happens in the labyrinth. Your ability to cover that, that's your inner richness. That's what you're here to offer. I mentioned an email of yesterday, even in times when you're down. I've been there before. Where you contemplate, you go, well, packing it in, it's got to be a great way to ease the pain. But it isn't, and you know it, and it won't. So what's our philosophical portfolio look like? That's the inner richness. That's the key to everything in your life. Not what you own, what you drive, what you wear, who you hang with, right? Your posse, your entourage. So let me ask you, what's your true identity? I talk about superhumans, and it's fair. We can continue the metaphor if you like. Bruce Wayne is Batman. Oh, golly, watch this. Superman is Clark Kent. See, I got it right. Clark Kent. So what's your true identity? Who are you? Because once you identify who you are, and this is what we're going to work on this morning. This is a part of your inner richness. This is what we're going to work on this afternoon, this evening, whenever you're listening. I also want to say hello to my friends in Singapore who tune into the show every day. Thank you very much. Cartersville, Georgia, New York, Los Angeles, Miami, Cleveland, Aurora, Illinois. Look at that. Thank you very much. So here's what we're going to focus on. When we can recall who you are, the true marrow of your inner richness, here's what we're able to identify. You have an edge. We always talk about the cognitive cutting edge, pushing our minds, being the tip of the spear, pushing the envelope. This is slightly different. What's your edge? If you're here, you have an upper hand, an inside track, a head start to releasing your authentic vigor, your buried logic. You have a head start, an edge to manifesting your destiny. What's yours? Now, I know the mind will pop up right away, the list of things that we're no good at. Right? Oh, I could be better at this. I could better at that. We all could be. But what's your edge? What do you know sits inside of you that if you tapped it and brought it out into the light of the day, you'd be kicking in some doors? I like to think of it as your nerve and verve. What is it? And it's unique to each and every one of us. What is yours? And if today for our 20-minute victory, we're able to get out our journal, which I'm a huge fan of. Mine happens to be a 3-ring binder notebook. But your journal, your evidence blotter, your logbook, whatever you want to call it. Let's talk about your verve and nerve. What's your edge? First thing that comes to mind, write it down. Second thing comes to mind, write it down. Third thing comes to mind, write it down. Keep the pen moving. Pencil, crayon, chalk, dry erase marker if you're writing on a whiteboard. What's your edge? And regardless of what the ego says, oh, I don't have an edge, Brian. No, I don't know. Keep with it. Stick with it. Write it down. What's your edge? You know you have one. What is it? No more identity crisis. No more crappy self-appraisal skills. What's your edge? Did you ever wonder about the emotional labor, the stress of keeping your inner superhuman in check? That's the identity crisis. We talk about true identity. Keeping the best parts of you in check, keeping them in a jar, keeping them bottled up. How does it benefit us? Why do we do it? What's your edge? Write it down. Next thing that comes to mind, write it down. If you were going to head out the door right now and be confronted by whatever life throws at you, whatever fate, whatever shenanigans fate has in store for us today, what's your edge? What's your inside track? What's your upper hand? What can you do to guarantee your success? We'll be right back.
You're listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy. How much longer will you let them hijack your head and your heart?
Enough mashugana. How much longer? Let's make today the day we don't do it anymore. Life, fate, the labyrinth. It's challenging enough without all of our critics reminding us of where we've stumbled in the past. All the critics that want to dull your edge. They don't even know what it is. They just know they're not using yours. They want to dull. They're not using theirs. They want to dull yours. No more neglecting yourself. What's your edge? And if you're tapping the pen, the pencil, the crayon on your notebook, stick with it. Don't let yourself off the hook. The ego's going to go, oh, look, I could be distracted by this. I could be distracted by that. No, stick with it. What's your edge? What's your edge? Because you have it. Is it the way you think? The way you act? Is it something you're able to physically do with your body? Philosophically do with your mind? What is your edge? Write it down. And then let's just commit. Let's promise each other that today you're going to use that edge. Whatever it is. We're going to use it. And you're going to find, like anything else that we do, when you start recalling your edge, using it, honing it, it starts to grow in capability, in size, in passion. There's a popular term now, a psychoanalyst calls it fertile solitude. Maybe agree to spend 20 minutes today alone, by yourself, and answering this one question of cultivating a reverence for your edge. What is your edge? because that's a part of your inner richness. That's a part of your natural resources. I talk of it all the time, that you're a bag of tools. You have every tool. You have everything you need to have a life you've always wanted. You have it right now. Your edge is a part of your bag of natural resources. And if you're here, you have them. You have the inside track of dealing with the flukes, the serendipity, the coincidence. And maybe for today, we go after some of this fertile solitude. Spend 20 minutes by ourselves. Set an alarm on your phone, a clock, egg timer. Tick, 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 ding. Then you'll know your 20 minutes is up. Spend some time alone, listening to the sound of your own breath. Wait and see what bubbles up in different regions of your body. Because ultimately, we talk, and we'll do here in a little bit. Golly, it's already at the bottom of the hour. We'll do here a little bit some of the articles that I wanted to highlight today that I pulled down this morning from around the web. I saw this thing now where you can you can buy it's not styrofoam, but some kind of form-fitting meditation cushion that looks to me, I have to be honest with you, it looks like an old beanbag chair. So imagine 20 minutes, fertile solitude. You're going to try to meditate. What is it? Meditation is nothing more, as we said yesterday, than watching the ducks go by in your mind. Watching the clouds drift by overhead. Stick around. What do they say about Chicago? They probably say it about your city, too. It's like a common little one-liner. Oh, if you don't like the weather here, just stick around. It'll change. Same thing with the thoughts in your mind. Same thing with your attitudes, your ideas. Especially with the negative ones. Especially with the self-defeating ones. Especially with the neglecting ones. You have to hold on to those in order for those to stick around. You got to offer that duck some bread. Call it over to the side of the riverbank. You got to entertain that in order for it to stick around. Now, some of us are really good at entertaining the thoughts of why we should be neglected, of why we're scared to death to be wrong, we talked about yesterday, about how when we take stock of our inner richness, we don't think we have any. But that's not true. So don't buy the hype. Write your own headline where everyone says you need all these other things in order to be happy. Look around the world. I'm always reminded, you see some pictures from kids all over the world, regardless of their circumstances. These kids are smiling, grinning ear to ear. Happiness isn't about what you have, it's about who you are. So again, what's your edge? If you're here, you have one. If you're here, you have one. So maybe we spend some time in that fertile solitude. See what bubbles up. Take the 20 minutes. Be our own best friend. Get off our own back. Believe me, all the craziness will be there when your timer goes off. You can come right back to it. There'll be plenty of ducks floating by. Plenty of ducks floating by. All right, bottom of the hour. We'll be right back.
IPMNation.com.
All right, here's one that grabbed me right out of the box this morning. It's talking about for people that are concerned either for themselves or for loved ones or maybe even a future understanding of Alzheimer's. And it says here, and we've talked about some of these types of reports before, but this one we need to kind of just decipher a little bit better than they do. In my estimation, they do in this report. When it talks about keeping busy may also help keep dementia at bay by improving our cognitive skills. But then we talk about being distracted. We talk about multitasking. So it's not busy for busyness' sake. What's best for the brain is that focused sense of attention. When you hear people there, I was just wrapped in awe. I saw a sunset that just stopped me in my tracks. I saw the full moon. Mars has been hanging out pretty close to our planet. We've been hanging out. We're both hanging out pretty close to the sun of late, so you can see Mars in the sky. It's those things that just stop your mind in its tracks. And then outside of that moment, you can work to staying mentally busy. But in the moment, it's not multitasking. It's not keeping 15 balls in the air. It's being wrapped. Your attention on one and only one thing. That's what makes it a benefit to your mind and your cognition. And although the good people, the frontiers of aging neuroscience, although they say that keeping busy was the main determinant of cognition, and that it really helped episodic memory, all I'm suggesting here, all you and I know, is that it is that focused attention in the moment where we get the benefits of being both busy and brilliant. The brilliance, being able to focus our attention in the moment. So when we hear articles saying, oh, keep busy, got to keep the mind nimble, all true. All we're suggesting is that you magnify the moment. I can tell you from my days in law enforcement, you can't take a mile-high view of a crime scene when you come in. You got to pay attention to the tiniest bits of evidence. We used to look for fingerprints if it was the type of crime scene where that would work. And sometimes you can't even find fingerprints when you're looking for them, but you think there might be something. So there was this little technique that I was taught early on. I used a fish tank, like a glass fish tank, and I put a cover on the top. But if you took super glue, and maybe there's another way of doing it now, but back in the day, if you took super glue and you dropped it onto a piece of cotton inside of this tight little fish tank, and you put whatever evidence you think the bad guy or the bad girl, don't want to be sexist, the bad guy or the bad girl may have touched something they've done, you put that in, you put in the cotton balls, you drop the super glue on it, and you cover the lid really quickly. Put the lid on top of the fish tank. And what happens is that because of some chemical properties between the combination of the cotton balls and the super glue, it leaves a film. It hardens a film on the surface. So if there's a fingerprint that isn't catching your eye in the moment when you first see it, the super glue settles down and it makes the ridges of the fingerprint, it makes it very rigid. So then you can go in with your powder, you slap some fingerprint powder on, right? If it's on a light surface, you're putting on some dark powder. If it's a dark surface, you're putting on some white powder. But you slap your fingerprint powder around, and now you have you have a fingerprint on whatever was left behind. It's the same with being in the labyrinth. It's the focused attention, even on things that we may not be able to see without the aid of some super glue and some cotton. So you say, okay, what's super glue and cotton? What is that in terms of the real world? That's just our attention. That's our attention. And sometimes, consciously, it comes to us right away. Other times, because it's subconscious, it doesn't. So we pay attention in the moment, no multitasking, waiting for the body to tell us. Because I truly believe that a part of your edge, of your verve and your nerve, is that your mind, your brain and your body really are the same organism. So when you pay attention to what's going on in your mind, you're paying attention to what's going on in your body. Because your body is sending signals back from all over. Wherever maybe some of your implicit memories, some of the things that happened to you that are stored in your subconscious mind happened to you when you were a little kid, those are registered in different parts of your body. And when you pay attention to those feelings as they bubble up, when you work in your journal, when you ask yourself, what is my edge? Wait for the body to vote. your intuition, your gut. When you focus on that, that's your super glue and cotton balls. That's how you detect a fingerprint that might normally not be visible to the human eye. Same thing when we take a cast of a tire print or of a boot print. It's the focused attention in the moment, laser-like attention, to no pun intended, but the body of evidence that is you, your inner richness, the good and the bad, everything that's ever happened to you, everything that we've encountered, that's a part of our inner richness. We slap some fingerprint powder around, we may not see it right away, but it's in there. Remember, anytime you go to a crime scene, if you watch any of these shows, CSI Miami, CSI New York, CSI Los Angeles, I don't know, any of these shows. That's why I came up with the idea of CSI Mirror. You're going to the crime scene. You want to investigate a crime scene? Investigate the crime scene in your own mirror. Who are you? Who are you? What is your edge? And when you do that, that's when your all-natural being starts to bubble up. And I mentioned it briefly the other day, but it's just, I don't want to say freaking me out, but it's something that I'm fascinated by. So, some of you may know, I have 4 beautiful children, but I have my youngest. And everyone's quick to say, oh, the terrible twos. But then I've sat for a while and go, wow, they are terrible. I'll give them that much. But why? Why are there terrible twos? And I've noticed that at times when my son is channeling his inner agitation just to the hilt, this kid's got a set of lungs already. He can scream his ear piercing. But in those moments, when you go over, and whether he's sitting on the floor or lying on the floor, when you go over and you get up close to him and you just look in his eyes, you don't have to say anything. You don't have to tell him to stop screaming, stop throwing a fit. You just look in his eyes. Honest to goodness, within a minute, sometimes 90 seconds, but most times minute or less, he'll calm down. And I think, and again, not a child psychiatrist, psychologist, licensed, clinical, social, anything, nothing on the list of ists, other than, I guess you could say, a youist. I'm a huge fan of you. When I look into his eyes, he calms down. The agitation goes away. Why? In my estimation, because he can feel that something, someone is giving him attention. So I wonder, what do you think? Is it possible that when we spend time paying attention to our inner superhuman, the agitation, the frustration, the running around, just literally running around like a banshee, do you think that calms down? Think our agitation would calm down? If it works for a little kid, it'll work for you and me, regardless of our age. Now, whether you decide to take me up on my offer of spending 20 minutes looking in your own mirror, looking at the pattern, the color, the depth in your own eyes, or a little more metaphorically, you go, look, I'm just going to search who I am. I'm going to go in and slap around some fingerprint powder, see what I can come up with. Fingerprints of Providence. The exterior and the interior labyrinth. I'm a crime scene investigator, and my crime scene is the mirror. What if I'm right? Well, you'll know in 20 minutes. You'll know in 20 minutes. When you pay attention, when you look yourself in your own eye, physically or metaphorically, you pay attention. the evidence is going to bubble up. And as the evidence bubbles up, the agitation goes away. But I think we block the good or the bad, really, in our lives. We block it. We run from it. We hide from it. Crap happened to all of us growing up? Absolutely. Maybe some as recently as yesterday. Right? Shift happens in the labyrinth of life. Shift is going to happen tomorrow. But when you cultivate your edge, when you recognize, when you remember your edge, when you remember who you are, whatever the labyrinth throws, just bring it. Enough already. Oh, you better be afraid. Oh, you better be scared. Oh, you better be worried. Just bring it. Right? You go to the waiter. Can I just have my chicken breast, please? I don't need to hear all the other, everything else. Just bring me my meal. Just bring it. And when we regularly exercise our edge, we grow more confident in it, and it grows more confident in us. A little bit of kumbaya there for you. So no matter what the labyrinth of life throws, we go, just let me have it. Which leads me to the second article I wanted to highlight this morning. Within your mind, is there a super mind? According to the article by Janine Ball over at Huffington Post, according to this renowned scientist, he says yes. It says here at the time, quote, this is an interview with Dr. Norman Rosenthal, at a time when people everywhere are embracing yoga, meditation, self-development. There's a new book. Comes as a welcome guide, not only for the seeker, but anyone wishing to achieve peak performance. Well, here's my thought. Everyone wants peak performance, P-E-A-K. Then it begins with the other peak performance, P-E-E-K. Everyone wants to be the summit. Nobody wants to search out themselves. So I'm all over peak performance. I'm all over peeking into the mirror, peeking into ourselves, throwing some fingerprint powder around. Some peak performance. Article says that drawing on a survey of over 600 people, the good doctor identifies primary characteristics of heightened awareness that are developed through meditation and maps the growth of human consciousness. How people begin to feel an inner silence during daily activities. Greater resilience to stress, increased empathy and compassion, sharper sensory perception, and sustained inner happiness, end quote. Well, that's when we talked before about the fertility of solitude. We have that both inside and outside. That silence can also be solitude. It's the river underneath the duck that we spoke of yesterday. And he says, yes. There is a super mind. What do you and I know that to be? All-natural being. That's our all-natural being. Now, he's a huge fan of a particular type of meditation. God love him. And though he and I are going to disagree on some of the aspects, he says that when you interview the super performers, you find that there are qualities of a supermind. Well, you and I know that the super performers are what? Let's cut to the chase. What are they? Baggage-free, all-natural being. Baggage-free, not a decluttered, what's a better word? Not an overly sensitized sense of self, but all-natural being, a defragmented mind. We're not all busted up and brittle in little pieces. When we remember our all-natural being, remember, everything else that, all of our triumphs, all of our troubles, all of our ills, everything is scaffolding. It's a facade that's placed on your all-natural being. It's placed on your core. Which is why I'm not a huge fan of the self-help industry, if you're just tuning in. Why I despise the self-help industry tactics of convincing you that you're wounded in some way, that you're some tchotchke item that needs all this external motivation. You and I both know it doesn't work. If you truly are motivated by something outside of yourself, it's, well, something outside of ourselves. So all the craziness that we experience in life is in fact that. It's scaffolding built up around our all-natural core. And these super performers are the ones, he talks about the resilience, greater creativity, adaptability. Same thing, flexibility, creativity, right? They come up with all these words, think, well, here's 37 things you get. It all comes back to your edge. Because when you know your edge, you're creative. When you know your edge, you're resilient. When you know your edge, you're bulletproof. Your edge. Who are you? So outside of all the lists of things that you get, the resilience, creativity, you're more flexible, you're this or that, it's your edge. That's your inner richness. Of course, the article goes on, can the supermind help to create wealth? The answer is the supermind can do whatever you ask it to do. As soon as you agree that you're no longer going to work for your mind, that your mind is going to work for you, you can use it in any way you see fit. Because your mind is unique to you. We talk about fingerprint powder. Unique to the individual. Your mind. Just a massive library of everything you've ever explored. The good, the bad, the hot, the cold, the yin-yang, right? Yes? Your mind is a beautiful hodgepodge of all of those things. A giant psychological gazpacho of everything that's ever happened to you. Consciously or subconsciously, everything. All scaffolding. All scaffolding. And if you don't want to believe in a spiritual aspect of it, a more scientific aspect of it, well, great. You were born with a brain, nurture and nature, debate away. You were born with a human brain, ready to form a human mind. So there is a core of you. Sacred or secular, there is a core. And those things that hold us back from our edge, from our core, from our inner richness, it's all the scaffolding. Some was put on for us. Some we put on ourselves. But it's scaffolding, not you. You are your core. You are your inner richness. And you can run around looking for riches. You can run around looking for all these other things that you want to build onto the facade. But that doesn't make it you. They asked the good doctor, would you recommend meditation as a passageway to the supermind? He says, yes, of course. Here was the question that really struck me. Can the supermind be achieved through any form of meditation? Quote, some types of meditation, such as mindfulness, make no claim for expansion of consciousness either as a goal of the practice or of a unique outcome. In another form of Buddhist meditation, known as the jhanas, expanded consciousness is a goal and desired outcome. You and I use consciousness simply to reconnect with our all-natural being. We just want to reconnect our little individual packet of the pristine, which is your edge, which is your inner richness. We just want to connect, reconnect. Technically, I probably should say just recognize the connection already. Let's do it like that. It's to recognize an underlying connection already because you were never disconnected from it. So if I say, oh, we're going to reconnect with that, that's a bit of malarkey. because we're already connected. So let's say we recognize, we recognize how our individual packet, our subset of the pristine fits in to the universal and the ubiquitous, ever-present, everywhere. Universal pristine. So we don't need a goal. We're not using the recognition of our all-natural being. Well, because it'll make us more this, it'll make us more that. Because really, if your goal is you want to practice meditation to become enlightened, it's just another bauble. It's just another rich. It's just another line item in your portfolio. Oh, now, yes, I'm enlightened. Oh, Lord, help me. But when you do it to reconnect to who you already are, you very quickly realize there's nothing to brag about. You're like, oh, great. I remember who I am. And the need to brag about anything just kind of falls away. Because who are you going to brag to? When you reconnect with your all-natural being, your all-natural being goes, nope, you're an A-plus stock in my mind. You're top shelf. You're the best there is. So who is it going to brag to? How's it going to parade this list of exterior riches when it's so enveloped in its inner richness that it would be laughable to do so? The article talks about these peak experiences and how people are seeking out a measure of the growth of consciousness. Maybe our consciousness has grown enough. We just got to remember who we already are. And we do that. That's the beauty of, say, a walking meditation. You're just throwing some fingerprint powder around, just like I used to do. Although what you're trying to uncover in that moment is the evidence of how, outside of all the other distraction, all the static quo, what it feels for your foot to actually contact the earth. And all meditation is the distinction between walking and the understanding of how your foot actually strikes the ground. Yes? That's all meditation is. For most of us going, oh, I walked to the store. Meditation is just the understanding of, no, I planted the back part of my heel on the ground. It rolled forward. The middle part of my foot began to stabilize. My pinky and my big toe were there to keep me from shifting left and right. I rolled up. Heel left the ground, got onto the ball of my foot. As I got up to the forefoot, I pressed off with my toes. There you have it. That's the walking meditation. A realization in the moment of what you and your body are up to. That's all it is. Now, if you're going to sit and do your meditation, all it is an understanding. And the only degrees there are in meditation is the degree with which you can decipher what's going on. But if you're going to sit and do a meditation, you're just deciphering your breath. Oh, I'm breathing. No, technically, your diaphragm's involved. Your lungs are involved, which is a whole show in and of itself. All the different things your body has to do and happens when, in fact, you do breathe in deeply. When you exhale every bit of breath that you have in you, simply making room for the next rush of incoming air. That's all meditation is. It's a minute. It's a very clear understanding of exactly what you and your body are up to in the moment. No more of a sales pitch than that. And that's the true inner richness. And I have to tell you, I haven't read it, but I will. I'll get myself a birthday gift today. But the article, and let me just also say thanks again to Jean Ann, but Ms. Ball, who is a senior writer for the David Lynch Foundation. I thank Ms. Ball. She talks about a book, The Supreme Awakening. According to the article, quote, this book details people who throughout the ages demonstrated signs of advanced consciousness. I see the development of consciousness, if it occurs on a large scale, as an important stage in the world, becoming a safer and more collaborative place. Talked about that yesterday. Well, of course it would be. But the supreme awakening is when you awake to who you already are, your inner superhuman. So today, your 20-minute victory, however you decide to pull it together. Now, as we've talked before, you could schedule it or it could be spur of the moment. You could intend saying, okay, today at 12:15, I'm going to do a 20-minute victory. Or it could be impromptu. And if it's impromptu, when does your sense of inner richness begin to bubble up? And is down or melancholy or depressed or angry or upset or disappointed as we could be, it's all because we're absent-minded. We've forgotten who we are pre-scaffolding. What our foundation is, what our core is. So for 20 minutes today, how cool would it be to pay that amount of attention? Expanded consciousness, higher consciousness, whatever. I'd be tickled pink if you had a lower consciousness today. And that lower consciousness, good morning, that lower consciousness brought you back to the marrow of your mind, the marrow of your heart. So let me go on record, right? I'm all over a lower consciousness. That's all this higher consciousness malarkey. I want a lower consciousness. I don't want mindfulness. I want mindlessness. A lower consciousness. Get back to your inner richness, to the marrow of your own mind. Then life is just about kicking in one door after another. Sorry for all the law enforcement metaphors. I guess I'm just reflecting all those years ago. But if it worked for me, it'll work for you. Because you and I are exactly alike. We may be at different stages of our investigation. So what? But that our investigation continues. That we're going to be a crime scene investigator. We're going to figure out how our mind became fragmented in the first place. We're going to close this case. We're going to present our evidence to the grand jury of our own being and go, nope, I'm ready. Solve this case. Case closed. I can't think of a better way to spend your day. Give yourself 1/72 of your day. Get off your own back. It's enough scaffolding already. Why pile on? Remember who you are. Be thrilled with who you are. All right, we'll be back tomorrow morning, which I'm told is episode 50. Very exciting. Episode 50. Thank everybody again. All the texts that have come in during the show, everything on Twitter and Facebook. Thank you very much for the birthday wishes. I super, super appreciate it. And I will be here tomorrow. If you get a chance, come on by, hang out live. Don't forget, reach out to me, allnaturalbeing.com. We'll swap some emails. Keep in touch that way. Also, you can listen in the rebroadcast, 11 a.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Eastern on ipmnation.com/Brian Brawdy /allnaturalbeing, whatever you like. I'm looking forward to hanging out with you tomorrow. Have an absolutely fantastic day.
You've been been listening to All Natural Being with Brian Brawdy.
Join us live every Monday through Friday, 7 to 8 a.m. Eastern.
Also, check us out around the clock at allnaturalbeing.com.
Until then, always remember to bring your own bold.
IPMNation.com.